Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello, and welcome to Around the World Today, the podcast that takes you beyond the headlines to explore the deeper stories shaping our world. I'm your host, Terry Davis. And today we are diving into the fascinating world of water transport in the United Kingdom. As an island nation, the UK's connection with the sea is both historic and vital, playing a crucial role in our economy, regional connectivity, and even our environmental future. This episode marks the sixth instalment of our special series within Series 7 on UK transport, where we explore how water transport has evolved, its current state, and what its future will hold. Let's start with some context. Before the Channel Tunnel and the exploration of air travel, the only way to leave or enter the UK, apart from crossing the land border with Ireland, was by the sea. This makes sense, given the UK's geography. An island nation surrounded by water, over 95% of our freight still enters this country via the sea. A startling figure that underscores the importance of our ports and harbours. Today, some of the major ports handling the bulk of this freight include London, Grimsby, and Immingham, Milford Haven, Liverpool, and Southampton. The Port of London, for instance, is located on the River Thames and plays a vital role in the distribution of goods throughout the southeast of England. These ports are the arteries through which the lifeblood of our economy flows, ensuring that goods, fuel, resources reach every corner of the United Kingdom. But it's not just all about goods. The Port of Dover is one of the busiest maritime passenger ports in the world, with millions of passengers, lorries, and cars passing through every year. It serves as a critical gateway to the continental Europe, demonstrating just how central water transport is to our daily lives. Now, let's talk about regional connectivity. Water transport isn't just for international travel and freight. It's also a crucial link for communities within the United Kingdom, practically in more remote and geographical challenging areas. Take Scotland, for example. The ferries connecting the mainland to the Hebrides, Orkney, and Shetland Islands are essential. They provide not only a means of transport, but also a vital service. that sustains these communities. Imagine living in a place where the only reliable way to reach the mainland is by sea. That's the reality for many in these regions. In Wales, ports like Holyhead and Fishguard are key connectors to Ireland. These routes not only facilitate travel, but also bolster trade between the two nations. For these coastal towns, the ferry services are lifelines that support local economies, tourism, and provide a crucial link to the wider world. As we explore the UK's waterway transport, it's essential to compare our situation with other island nations. Let's take a look at Japan and Norway, for instance. Japan, much like the UK, is an island nation, heavily reliant on its maritime infrastructure. With a vast network of islands, Japan's ferries and ports are crucial for its connecting its various regions. The efficiency and scale of Japan's maritime system are something the UK can learn from, especially as we look to modernize our own infrastructure. In Norway, the rugged coastline and numerous fjords mean that ferries ain't just an option, they are a necessity. The Norwegian government has invested highly in developing a robust and sustainable ferry system, with many vessels now powered by electricity or other green technologies. This focus on sustainability is something that the UK could consider practically as we face the growing challenges of the climate change emergency. Speaking of sustainability, let's turn our attention to the future of water transport in the UK. As we move deeper into the 21st century, the emphasis on reducing our carbon emissions is becoming more important. The maritime industry is no exception. Innovations such as electronic ferries and hydrogen-powered ships are no longer just ideas. They are really becoming a reality. These technologies have the potential to significantly reduce the carbon footprint of our water transport, making it a more sustainable option for both freight and passenger travel. This shift towards green technology in maritime transport is something we need to embrace if we want to meet our environmental targets. Additionally, the increasing interest in expanding domestic maritime travel as an alternative to flying, practically for shorter routes. The resurgence of ferry services could provide more sustainable and enjoyable ways to travel within the United Kingdom, reducing the strain on our roads and railways, and offering a greener alternative to short-haul flights. Sorry. So, everyone, we are talking about ferries and just had a little bit of a little what's been going on, and green technologies is really great, right? But every industry within transport that we've looked at are looking at the green technology way. Maybe we should have an episode later on in this series about that, and we'll look at sustainability. Now, for me, I live in a port in Swansea, what's about 2 hours away from one of the ports that was mentioned, Milford Haven. Swansea used to have a ferry service connecting to an island. A few times. I like this song. I don't know how... Well, we're using new software, so bear with us. But yeah, Swansea had a port. We still do have port. Ships come in. Not often these days compared to before, but, you know, ships do come into them. They've centralised most port operations, like... You know, and that makes sense today, doesn't it, really, to centralise this. But 95% of our freight still comes in by sea. Passengers still travel from Dover, from Milford Haven to other countries. Do you know what I mean? To our neighbours. In some places in Scotland, you have to travel by sea. Can you imagine what it's like for those people? Like, you know, when you hear the words, the doctor is coming by boat, you know, it must. And then you look at it around the world, other places in Asia, where, you know, the doctor does come by boat. You go to the doctor by boat. And then, I just, for myself, I couldn't imagine it. Because I do like to go and walk, or I do like to walk by the sea, but I like to go and walk in mountains and stuff as well. So I really couldn't imagine. I don't know, because I like to explore, so I like a vast... And yeah, I live on an island, but it's a big island compared to, you know, some places. So once you've done it all, you can't really go anywhere, because you've done it all. There are places like St. Martin. I think it's St. Martin. Yeah, there are... St. Martin isn't... Sorry. This is my mother. She's watching these programs from the car. Oh, I've been doing so many reading lately for these episodes and writing them in the last week. So I've lost on what we're talking about. But anyway, we move on. Do you know what I mean? It's life. We're talking about ferries, and it wasn't St. Martin. It could actually be... it's a British overseas territory in Africa, or in the Indian Ocean. Up until recently, and I can't remember its name, up until recently, it was only served by water. A service twice a week, I believe, connecting South Africa with this British overseas territory. We've talked about them before. They've recently had an airport built by the British government because they are a British overseas territory. So yeah, it's, you know, people within our country, within the British overseas territories as well, still need to be connected by sea. We are still a sea country. Now, we could talk defence here and say about defence cuts to the Royal Navy, because sea and maritime is quite important to us. However, we're talking about transport, not defence. But protecting that transport is also quite important. So, my friends, should we have some nice cheerful music? In conclusion, water transport has been and continues to be a cornerstone of the United Kingdom's transport network, from the bustling ports that facilitate international trade to ferries that connect our remote communities. the sea maintains a vital part of our national infrastructure. As we wrap up this episode, indeed, I encourage you to think about the critical role that water transport plays in our everyday lives. It's a mode of transport that often goes unnoticed, yet it's fundamental to our economy, our communities, and our future sustainability. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the waves of the UK water transport. Be sure to catch up.
To this week's episode. We really
Be sure to catch up. Oh gosh, shall we start that one again, right? I'm really sorry for that technical glitch, but I think I'm going to leave it in. Because, this is, a comedy, do you know what I mean? I want it to be light-hearted, so I'm leaving it in. Right, thank you for joining me on this journey through the waves of the UK water transport. Be sure to catch up on any episodes that you've missed and stay tuned for more insightful discussions on the issues that shape our world. I'm Terry Davis, and this has been Around the World Today.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share